What's up, guys? The Z House.
I'm Kyle.
And we're from Gun Gamers, and today we are doing an AAR of an event we recently attended, and that is Bad Blood 2017.
Bad Blood 2017, it was an event that we just we didn't plan on going to it, and then one of the guys who didn't end up going said we should do it, and then all of a sudden we found ourselves in command positions of it, and that's kind of how it happened. Pretty quick and ridiculous.
Yeah, basically I went from not going to Bad Blood to everyone else was going to Bad Blood, but I wasn't going because I was supposed to be out of town. Then I decided to go on a whim when those plans fell through. Then I ended up being recruited to be the CO, and then I ended up recruiting half the other guys to be in charge of the black shirts. And we were basically the command squad of the black shirts at Bad Blood 2017. So if you were there, if you were on black shirts, praise Judy. Even if you weren't on black shirts, praise Judy anyway.
Yeah, I would say we took over command of pretty much the entire thing because we had all the embed slots. We had one of the platoon leads. I was acting as XO, he was CO, and we had various people helping. Joe was helping a lot with the admin side. And
then we ended up running the night game.
And then, yeah, we ran the night game too, which that got dropped we were told 3 days before the event got the go-ahead to run the night game, so we had to throw that together. But let's talk about some of the event. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start?
Well, let's start off with kind of the structure of the event. This is actually something that I think Kyle and I have a few suggestions for to improve. Now, the basic structure of the event, for those who weren't there or for those who were there and didn't pay attention, which not uncommon.
No.
We had collectors on each team. Each team had 6 collectors. And you needed to find stamps that were hidden throughout the field, and each CO had a stamp on them. And you need to find those stamps, put them onto a little stamp card, and whichever team turned in the most stamps at the end of the day won. So if you had, say, 3 stamps that you found out in the field, and then one of the CO stamps, that would have been 4 stamps. You get the idea. So that was the point of the game. But for 6 hours and 800 players between 4 teams, plus players on a tribal Op4 faction, that was it.
Yeah, there was a total lack of secondary objectives. In my opinion, it was a great missed opportunity to not have any kind of fragos you can throw out there. And what happened is players started getting bored, and when they got bored, now we were able to keep a lot of our team rallied pretty good and ran as a giant mob. And but what happened is even us, we probably lost 30% of the player base, and that's not we lost them off the field. They just went off and did their own thing because they got a little bored, and they'd be like, "Oh, we're going to take and hold the castle." Well, why? Because we don't really have any other objectives. Because we weren't getting intel updates, we weren't getting fragos. It was way too simple for the length of time and the amount of people. That was a huge problem, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good setup for creating chaos for a while, but after the initial chaos fades, and then each team is kind of dug in positions and try to figure out what to do next, it becomes you really need to try to keep things moving. And it falls a lot to the COs and the embeds and the XOs to try to keep every team engaged, which we managed to do because we had the severed head of a blow-up doll to get people to worship, but not every team had Judy. So we were... Just the more I think about it.
I mean, well, we even stole people from another team who just came and joined Black Shirts because of Judy.
We did.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, definite suggestion is the scenario. I think the scenario is a good groundwork for a base.
Yeah, great base.
Yeah, have the samples be the starting point of, oh, this is your base of, this is the main thing you're looking for all day. Like, these objectives are worth the most points or something like that if you want to do a scoring system.
Correct.
But then have, within that, possibly have a few extra things. For example, I know the Black Shirts, our faction background was we were the security detail for the president. Well, we ended up just making the president be Judy, but it would be interesting if, say, the Black Shirts at one point got an intel update that a Secret Service convoy was in the area and we had to go escort them or go deal with them, and that would be worth some kind of faction unique points. And maybe one of the other factions would be roped into that frago of, hey, you want to capture the president, like the Marxists. That would be a good Marxist. Yeah, so having a few different fragos, having a few different things, maybe some conflicting goals, maybe some goals that align for a couple of the factions.
Yeah.
There was a rule that there were no truces in the game.
Yeah.
I understand why that rule existed for the scenario that was given, but I almost wonder if you wanted to bring it to that next level of a little bit more kind of role play immersion type of thing, maybe have some aligning goals for some of the factions that it makes sense for them to temporarily work with each other. But with a lot of new players, maybe that wouldn't work. I'm just thinking.
I think with the level of new players, it's extremely difficult to balance things because everybody starts shouting the radio, oh, there's an alliance, oh, there's an alliance. And that actually happened with the tribal leader. Because I was staring down some tribal leaders, or they weren't the leaders, but there was probably about 3 guys. I stared them down, and the guy walking away from me, he said, oh, we're in an alliance with them. And I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't know, I didn't hear anything about this because I'm the XO. And so I radio him, and I'm like, what's going on with this? And then all of a sudden, he comes back, and they're staring at me, and I'm staring at them, and then Eric's like, there's no alliance, and I'm like, and I look at the guys, I like half raise my gun, and then they half raise theirs, and I'm like, we doing this? And then they started shooting. It was kind of hilarious. But that's the problem with when you do alliances in a game. If you have experienced players, you can definitely do it, and it can be awesome. But with inexperienced players, it's a dangerous game. But to go back to the tribal thing, with how simplistic the game was, I don't feel like the tribal held a purpose.
Yeah, the tribals kind of, I understand on paper what the purpose of the tribals is. It's so that each team couldn't just rush out onto the field immediately and capture the objectives with no resistance. But this is where we run into another issue that the game had, I think, was the spawns. And this is an issue that was really well documented. This is an issue we actually lobbied to Moondog, who was running the event, and we ended up getting a different spawn about halfway through the day. So we got a different spawn, but the issue is everyone was still spawning in the same general area. Everyone was spawning right next to each other and then out into the field from there. But that meant that right at game start, everyone was in a 3-way firefight immediately.
Yeah, basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with the field, what this was, basically it was like a big L shape, and all of the teams were on the inside of the L on one wall.
Basically, if I make my hand, this is like a rough approximation of the field's shape. The spawns were here, 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 and here.
Yeah, the teams were only about...
I didn't mean to make that a thumbs down, but I'm thumbs downing the spawns.
Yeah, they were about only 300 feet apart. So for people like me, or anyone else who has a gun equipped and it is tuned, you know, you have to run a very short distance, and all of a sudden you're engaged in a firefight. I would say, within the first,
Within the first 15 to 20 seconds.
15 to 20 seconds.
Fire was flying.
Yeah, BBs were flying. You got hit in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got hit in the first 30 seconds. I'm the CO, so I'm sitting there taking my 5-minute bleed out so someone could come get my sample, but I'm just sitting there. I'm like, well, this already happened.
Yeah, it was... the spawns were not set right, and there was the justification of why they weren't set right, I don't think was a good one.
Well, they said, oh, we didn't want people getting lost in the woods. And I think that kind of falls apart when you really look at it from a game design perspective. Any game, there's the risk of getting lost in the woods. And I know we just said you have to keep things simple for new players, but EMR is not that difficult.
It's not a disorienting AO.
I would say there was only one corner of the field where the terrain was sufficiently hostile to really worry.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, because I run events at HCA, and that is truly disorienting. Like, when you get up there, you have a short range of sight, the terrain, everything looks the same, and it's very easy to get disoriented, turn around, and you're not sure where you're going. I get that. I understand where people can get lost. This was not one of those fields. It was everything was very progressive and easy to identify.
And I thought there were plenty of great landmarks. EMR, as a field, I actually liked EMR
I like
a lot.
EMR, yeah.
EMR was a really good field, so that's definitely a good choice for it. And if you're gonna have 800 players at an event, I'm half tempted to say maybe there shouldn't have been 800 players. But at the same time, I think if the spawns were in each corner, except not on that super tall hill right down in the
hill
southeast.
we ran up on? Oh,
yeah,
God.
Yeah, maybe not down on that super tall hill in the southeast, but just short of it, and then each other team is in a corner. And then maybe if you wanted to have the tribals in the center.
Yeah.
And have the tribals be kind of a bit of a resistance thing to let everyone get some contact when they're running out. That would be my idea. But I don't think the spawns as they were any good.
The way they were at the size of the place they were, it was not conducive to 800 players. I think that field could be made to fit 800 players, but it has to be done right.
Yes.
And that would be the big trade-off. Let's talk about comms.
Oof. Apologies in advance to any black shirts who are watching, because I know for a fact that myself and Kyle and Joe, we could get salty over the comms at times.
I got a little salty.
Yeah, I'll be the first person to apologize for that, but oh my God, the comms. Because you have to understand from my perspective, I got it the worst, because on the black shirts at least, because I was the CO. I had team comms in my Opsman headset in both ears, and I had admin comms in an earpiece in my right ear under my Opsman feeding through my Code Red shoulder mic. And oh my God, it was sensory overload. I could not play effectively because of the degree to which my comms were distracting.
Oh, yeah.
It was...
You know what?
I mean, it's a risk you run when you take a CO position,
Yeah.
a staff kind of position, but wow.
Yeah. And it was tough because we were given one frequency. It was for some reason, the frequency assignment was done all wrong because each team was only given one channel and all the sub-channels therein, so to speak. And what happened is a lot of people, especially new players, they can't handle sub-channels and they get really confusing and hard. And so what happens is we made a mistake in that we set the platoon, the command side for
As
black
flat
shirts
3.
as flat 3. And that was a terrible mistake. Because what happened is, as a result, we had a special rally channel on our particular channel, and not once did anyone use it.
Yeah, we tried. So the way we organized our comms was we had flat 3 as the command net, which the platoon leaders, XO, CO were on. And then we had sub-channel for platoon 1, sub-channel for platoon 2, sub-channel for platoon 3 and 4. And then we had another sub-channel that was supposed to be the dedicated rally channel. Like if someone was lost, if someone needed to find triage, they would hop on that, and Kyle was monitoring that.
Correct.
And no one used it.
Not one person used it. As a result, what happened is everybody decided we're all going to be on command channel. And that was a disaster. And not only was everyone on our team on command channel, other teams were on our command channel. With the frequency range that we have, each team should have had multiple channels to work with to help balance this out. Especially because if you got 200 people, radios are a requirement. And I'm falling more into the Milsim West thing. If you aren't doing command stuff, you shouldn't have your radio. You shouldn't have it on, and you should be yelling to your friends.
Agreed. I mean, after playing at Milsim West, everyone seems to think you need radios to coordinate with your squad. You don't. I'm sorry, you don't. If you can't yell at your friends, then you need new friends, or you need to train your voice a little bit. I don't know how you can do that. Maybe listen to more death metal, whatever. But what we should have had, in my opinion, and this is my suggestion for next year, is because there's 22 channels on the FRS GMRS range that
Right.
you can use on standard, Motorola, Midland, and you can even program Baofangs for them.
Yep.
What we should have had, in my opinion, was admin channel 1, and then each team would have 3 or 4 channels that they could use and make use of.
Correct.
Because that way you could have had flat channels for most people, and if you had 3 or 4 channels for each team to use, that would even still leave room left over for if you still want to keep the tribals would have their own channels. If you needed, say, EMTs to have a channel there would be a leftover channel there. If you want to have a second admin channel, which we'll get to in a second. So as I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted, we had so the comms was kind of a mess because trying to deal with sub channels to split up the team and stuff like that. So I would suggest 3 or 4 channels, dedicated channels per team that we could use in the FRS GMRS range. And then I think there needed to be more than 1 admin channel in use, because there were supposed to be 2 admin channels. Supposed to be channel 1 and channel 19 were admin channels. I was on channel 19 all day because that was the channel I was told to use, and everyone who was acting in any capacity as admin was on it. The game admin who were actually out in the field were on it. The staff, like parking lot staff, were on it. The people running the ticket booth were on it. And what ended up happening is I had a mixture of 2 things. I had The Channel 3, that was a mess for the previous mentioned reasons, for a lot of people being on it, tons of people hot micing. Oh
Endless
my God.
hot micing. Endless.
And there were people hot micing on admin because a lot of people were on the admin channel, or maybe we were catching interference. But between those two channels, I had static in my ear pretty much all day. And it was a mess. I'm amazed I didn't get a migraine and lose my mind. But no, so I would suggest definitely have like 2 separate channels for game staff. Have one for the staff who are out in the parking lot who are not doing anything with the game, and have one for the staff like the embeds, the COs, and the refs who are actually on the field. Because dealing with traffic in one ear of someone asking like where money from the register was while I'm in the middle of a situation trying to navigate where my embeds are supposed to be, really inconvenient. So that would be my suggestion, is make better use of multiple admin channels and make better use of multiple channels for each team.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think it could have been fixed, but the problem is when you require radio, everybody wants to use it, and when you have 800 people, that's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on requiring everybody to carry a radio. Because then you tell them to keep it off, people are gonna bump it, people are gonna turn on anyway. It gets really messy. I don't think a single team CO has not said that their comms were a mess.
Nope, and one CO just walked off entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't.
Yeah.
Did a CO walk off?
CO walked off 30 minutes after the game start.
Man, that's another. Okay, another thing I want to mention real quick is.
Right, Baku? Yeah, you don't like it either.
Okay, at least that one faded quick.
Okay.
Another thing I want to mention real quick is now I don't want to play a blame game here, point fingers or anything. That's not my intention. But embeds for the teams. I think there was a problem with a bit of a problem with getting people to be reliable embeds, because we had the 2 embeds for black shirts both back out kind of the last minute from the game.
Yep.
And I understand life stuff comes up, but then they had to the Moondog had to scramble to find new embeds.
Yep.
And luckily, I had my squad who was coming with me, who I know can be reliable, counted on, trustworthy embeds. And luckily, those guys were able to step up and be the embeds from game start to game end on Saturday.
Yep.
And that helped our team immensely, having 2 reliable, experienced embeds. It didn't seem like every team had that luxury.
No.
It did
I heard
seem...
a lot of reports of people having all kinds of problems, both on the command side and on the embed side.
Yeah, I was, I mean, I know a couple of teams lost their embeds before the day was over, and other people had to step up, which is good that those people did what they had to do, but it really does seem like you need to be pretty choosy. You don't have a small pool to pick from. There's 800 people coming to this game.
If there's 800 people, I think, yeah, you really need to iron out solid people, and because even some of our command structure, we had people that we had to change things out, and or some people even change themselves out in the command structure. And I think when you're going to do it, you have to choose people that really want the position and are prepared for the responsibilities of that position.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even say just people who want the position. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to volunteer somebody who you know will be good at it.
Correct.
And that's basically what happened to me for being Black Shirt CO. Moondog just messaged me. He was like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then it ended up all working out because I had all my buddies with me and we were able to coordinate. But that's kind of what you have to do sometimes, is not just go after the people who would really want to do it, but the people who might actually be capable of doing it.
Correct.
As far as I know, Black Shirts, our team as a whole, though, I think we were like the last team on the field.
We were the last team on the field. And you and me, in our small little group, we were literally, apparently the game had been over before it was supposed to be, for the record. And
Yeah, they called the game like 10 minutes early, or they were going to.
Yeah, we
were
were
still out.
flank.
We were still going and doing stuff.
Yeah,
we're
we were
still playing the game.
we were on this awesome deep flank. We were trying to grab one more
last
stamp.
sample.
And we were there, and all of a sudden they're like, everyone's gone in, and we're like, come on, it's still, time says we're good. So, I mean,
I'm a terrible CO, by the way, because I can't stay alive.
You
I'm
don't.
going to be out in the front screaming praise Judy and throwing full auto fire. I've got comm static in my ear. I can't hear where I'm getting shot at from. I'm just like, ah!
but overall, I would say, I mean, we can only speak to how it looked from Blackshirt's point of view, but from a gameplay perspective, once the spawn camping issues were mostly resolved as best they could for the way it was set up, I would say the gameplay, it was a giant skirmish, but generally it went pretty well. You had, your typical new player problems, but there was, for 800 people, there was very limited heated tempers and there was very limited injuries. So
Yes. There were one or two
Yeah.
injuries, and we had a couple of heat casualties.
Yep.
We were legitimately yelling at people to drink water, which I think helped our case that we
Yeah.
didn't have too many. I think we had one.
Yeah, because we were always at the recycle point for our forward
triage,
spawn,
yep.
our triage. And whenever we're there, we're like, drink water, drink water, drink water. And I think that's what kept our team going, because we were a force just running around and stuff like that. I mean, we didn't win every firefight, but we were all there,
The
and we were
Deus
all
Ex
shooting.
CO put it the best.
Yeah.
The Deus Ex CO, after the game was over, he just looks back at me and says, "You guys were fucking relentless."
Yeah, that's what we were relentless. We were going places. Was it always the right place? No. Did we do silly things? Yes, but we were moving.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that, and this is the thing. So I want to cap off with an important point here. We've made a bunch of suggestions here to try to improve the game, but we're doing so because, in general, I would say we managed to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did.
I think we made the game. I hope we made the game more fun for the guys on our team.
Yeah, and I hope you guys enjoyed the night section that I designed. So hopefully
the
that
night
went well for you as
section
well.
definitely needs, big suggestion for the night section is it needs a different location on EMR's
Yes.
field. The castle was a nightmare to attack and defend, to attack in and out of.
Yeah.
So I think they kept on using the Tipman Town and Bomi Village interchangeably.
Yeah.
The area where our initial spawn was, that would be a better night game area in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But I think overall, people seem to enjoy the night game, which is good. I hope that we made the game a little more fun for you if you were on our team. But then the other thing I would say is, like I said, we've been kind of critical, but we only do this because we see where the game can go, and we're just trying to look at it from our perspective of, we've run a few games in our day, and we're just looking at it from our perspective. Okay, what could we do to bring the game to the next level? And that's where we've been saying all this from. It's not from a place of we had no fun and this game was absolutely awful and everyone who was involved should feel bad about this. Not at all. We're saying this because we think that these relatively simple changes overall, I would say, would make the game like one of the standout events in the East.
Because I think Bad Blood has a huge reputation from everyone, because we know a lot of people who do a lot of real Milsim events. Now, some people think that Bad Blood is a Milsim event. If you go there thinking it's a Milsim event, it's not. It's an 800-person skirmish with something resembling an objective. So if you go there with that intention and to have lots of fun with that, you will have fun. If you think you're going to have an immersive Milsim experience, not going to have fun. Now, we want to, I think if we made some changes, maybe it could start shifting a little bit to that side, but due to the nature of what the game is and how it's designed, it's always going to be designed to be a mass game, fun game, not a super deep immersion game.
Yeah, so I don't think like a deep immersion type of structure would work.
No.
But what I think would work is at least having kind of levels.
Yeah.
So you would have your level of, the base level of go find samples. And then squads that could go do fragos.
Yeah.
Maybe squads that could get involved in personnel exchanges, something like that.
Yeah, you could build it in tiers. So, you have, 50% of the base is always just going to want to go around and sling BBs.
And shoot people for no reason. They don't care.
They don't care about any objective, whatever. That's part of every airsoft game.
Yep.
And then you build up tiers of, oh, we want you to do this frago. Oh, we have an escort mission. Oh, we have this special exchange. And just tiers of smaller and smaller things. But for people like us who aren't running things but have a lot of experience, it gives them an option to do cool stuff while the other people also get to do their cool stuff.
And I also think that you would get to leverage a few, because I bet you, if you asked, because I know the whole thing with Bad Blood is that it's kind of a little bit of a charity event as well.
supposedly,
so
yeah.
maybe you don't want to pay for a lot of this stuff, but I bet you if you asked some of the tribal role players to get involved in this, I bet you they'd do it.
I bet you they would. And it doesn't need a lot of props. I mean, I've run a ton of games. You don't need a ton of crazy investment to do it from the staff side to create a cool event. There's a lot of options out there that aren't high cost options. So it's just a matter of how they want to proceed. If they just want to keep it pure skirmish, or if they want to kind of do a tiered system like we would think would work well. But overall, I mean, from my personal experience, outside of the XO side, just going out, slinging BBs, doing objectives, that kind of stuff, I had a ton of fun. I ran a PKM. I went through over 10,000 rounds in that game. 10,000 rounds, which is, honestly, that's more than I normally go through in an entire year of shooting. It was
usually use a gas rifle.
Usually I use a gas blowback rifle. So to go through 10,000 rounds is pure insanity. And but it was a lot of fun because it was lighthearted. You know, we were screaming "Praise Judy." We were just blindly charging objectives. I mean, at one point we all respawned, and there were some people right outside our triage, and we let them all know, as soon as you respawn, just suppress everything this way and try and kill them. We called it. We had to tell our guys to stop firing because they must have dumped almost 10,000 rounds in seconds from like 50 people, everyone full auto at this direction. And it was hilarious.
It was pretty awesome.
Because, nobody was hurt because it was from, people shooting.
It was a distance away.
Yeah, they were shooting 150 feet away.
We weren't like mag dumping people at 30 feet.
No. It was people who were 50 meters away.
Harassing fire.
And it was just epic. There was a lot of fun things going on.
We basically
in that
just
game.
out harassing fired them.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Like I said, even acting as CO, like I said, my frustration with some of the things. But in general, I mean, I didn't go through as much ammo as Kyle. I went through about 7,000 rounds through my Crytek LMG, which I never get to use enough, and that was so much fun to use at this game.
Yeah.
But it was a lighthearted kind of game, and I enjoyed that a lot. So I know this kind of seems contrary to what we were just saying of, maybe have tiers and maybe offer some different things, but like I said, these are all just suggestions, things that we think might work if they wanted to look into them, but then some of the other things that would make the game just more fun in general, like fix the spawns, which I know is already a data point Moondog is working on.
Correct.
But yeah, it was not a bad event.
No,
overall. It had some planning issues, I think.
Yes.
It had some issues with, maybe those could be chalked up to growing pains because it's their first time at EMR.
It is their first time at EMR. I think every year because I talked to a couple people who have gone to all of them, and they say every year it gets better. So I think, it does have this reputation of, not, there's some issues. But I think every year it's getting better. And I think if some simple changes are followed through on, and every year it continues, and it continues that at an aggressive pace, it could turn into a really fun mass person game quickly.
Yep.
But overall, I'd say that's a good summary. There's some changes we want to make, but we still able to have fun. If you go into it with the right mindset, you can have a lot of fun at the game.
Exactly.
But you just got to go in. This is airsoft. This is fun. I'm just screwing around with a giant 800.
I'm not going to get mad at people who aren't calling hits. Instead, I'm going to bring a box mag and praise Judy.
Exactly.
So that's that. So anyways, I'm eHouse.
I'm Kyle.
It was good playing with you guys if you were there, and if you weren't, well, I'll catch you some other time. Peace.
Peace.